Hello, 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 beautiful unicorns. How are you guys doing in this magnificent Monday? I am Yana Kasperczak, your spiritual awakening core energy coach, and it is my soul's mission and purpose and is to help you get your shit together so that way you can start to break free from that mental prison that you find yourself in and live the life that you love, cherish, and can be very proud of. And today, to help you do just that, I'm going to bust out some of these cards from the Shaman's Dream Oracle. And like I promised last week, I'm going to bring out a deck of cards that I had not used before. And this is definitely a deck of cards that I have not used before. And when I looked into my cabinet with all the cards, this one just looked at me and it was winking at me. So I thought, okay, I'm going to bring you and share you with the ladies in the group and see what you have for us today on this Monday that, I don't know about you, but I'm tired. I got to go and paint a mug on Thursday last week, and from that Thursday, I feel like it was every day that I got to stay up really late. My really late is like 11:30, 12, or 1. Typically, we go to bed at 10, maybe 10:30. But yeah, it's been interesting on this end. So you know what, I'll do 3 cards. Typically I do, actually, you know what, I'll do one. One can also take quite a bit of time to do, especially this one looks like it's gonna be quite quite a lot. What's coming up for you guys when you see this image? Okay, wailing tree, reconciliation. I actually thought this was fire. Like this was fire and agony. That's what I thought as I'm looking at it from here. It just looks, and the agony is the face in there. And, you know, agony is not a bad word. And it is not necessarily, it serves a purpose. It does not feel great, but it does serve a purpose. All of our feelings and emotions, they serve a purpose. If they didn't, we wouldn't have them. It's as simple as that. Whatever does not serve a purpose in our life, it disappears. And it's like that for everyone. So what you're going through, when it stops serving a purpose, you'll get something new. You'll get something new and different, or maybe similar, that will replace, that will help you to go from here to here to here to here, and then so on and on and on. So wailing tree is what we got today, ladies and gentlemen. No gentlemen, but force of habit, just saying it like that. Reconciliation. Now, 59. Ooh, I think this one might be also by numbers. This will be easy if it is. Like painting by numbers. Have you guys ever painted by numbers? I did it once. I got it as a gift from a boyfriend. And in a way, I was excited, but part of me was a little insulted. I'm like, I guess I should have told you. I used to draw and paint. Granted, I am not an artist in that sense, but I used to draw and paint, and I used to go to an art class back in Russia where we would take our easels and the painting brushes and everything. It was so much fun, just even feeling that way. I want to do it again. Oh, maybe I'll bring a couple of friends and we'll go have a painting party in the forest, because that's what we did in school. The whole entire class, we gathered our things, we walked, strutted our stuff, went to the forest, stood in the forest like on the path, and everyone got to pick whatever they wanted to color and paint. I don't remember what anyone else did because I wasn't looking at anyone else. I was looking at myself and my things, as long as I remember. At least this is how I remember. And this is where I want to make sure I say this is at least how I remember, because our memory is, oh my God, it is so interesting how our mind works and how our memories work, that what you remember to be the truth is not 100% the truth, and it is actually not even 100% what actually happened. Because our minds, they continue to add things and change things from our past and our memories, that it almost can change our memory entirely. So I feel like this will be perfect for reconciliation. Reconciliation, starting with understanding that memories, and this is where like I feel my heart like flutter, like there's like a wave that goes through my heart when there's certain words I say, and I know some of you might be triggered by these things, because a lot of people are. When I might not might, I'm gonna take a moment and call you out on your, not just yours, but all humans. This is every single human being, on your ability to embellish a memory or diminish a memory or entirely get rid of a memory from your mind. And we all do this. And this is good and it's bad. Just like everything in life and in the world, there's good and there's bad, but we don't have to look at things in that way. We could. We should, according to society, but we are not meant to look at things in a way of this is good and this is bad. Because if we did, we ourselves, as little babies, we would not love ourselves as much as we did when we were little. When we saw a mirror when we were little, we were so much in love with ourselves. We were fascinated. So much so that guaranteed you left a lot of slobber when you tried to make out with yourself. Okay? This is how much you loved yourself. And now you don't. Why? Because this is the world we have been blessed to be born in. This is the time and the season where we can evolve to become much more than we believed we could. And it takes, how to put it, it takes time for us to start to uncover what that means to us. What that means, that if your life is not the way you want it to be, what it means is that, yes, you can't go back and rewrite your life, but what you could do is you can start to understand where you are and start to see that the things that you have went through, no matter how torturous they were, that they served a tremendous purpose for you to find your purpose. So let's go into this wailing tree, since it wants to be wailed at. Grief and mourning, a time of necessary losses and reconciliations. When you encounter the wailing tree on your path, it is an invitation to stay a while and regroup. A place for you to rest and allow yourself to say goodbye to what no longer serves. Okay, so this is for you, like literally for you to sit with yourself, for yourself. I recognize, let me go open my, I recognize that I might be missing some comments, so let me open my webpage. Oh, the Book of Faces on there. Where's the group? There we go. Okay, so here we go. And also while we're here, I also started a challenge in the group. Some of you might have seen, some of you might have not. And the challenge is really to help you love yourself more. And I feel like this is exactly, that's why I want to bring up the challenge, because this goes perfectly well with the challenge. So let me go over this sentence that I read to really solidify what it's saying, to help all of us digest this. Okay, when you encounter the wailing tree on your path, you are on your path. Whether you're sitting and not doing anything, you are on your path and you're moving forward. Granted, for some of you it might be tiny little steps, for others it might be bigger steps, but there's still steps regardless. Big or small does not matter. Forward, not backwards. It's an invitation to stay a while and regroup. Pause, think, get your shit together, regroup. That's what I hear with regroup, getting your shit together. Regroup, gather yourself, reflect back, reflect forward, even though it's not reflection, but create the forward, create the future by reflecting back, seeing where you are in a positive, light way. If you're struggling with that, find someone who can help you. Find someone who can help you become that way. Because if you are not that way, how can you become that way if you don't have the right guidance, the right systems, the right structure, the right people to lead the way? No matter what you're doing in life, you have someone who's leading you. You might think it's you who's leading you, but it actually might be other people as well. Here's a perfect example. One of your coworkers got promoted or moved to a better job. That is leading you to do the same. Yeah, it might not be them saying, "Ooh, you come and do this and this and that," and telling you step by step what you should be doing, but they're leading you to that better version of yourself, where you got to do some of this in order for you to step into that next you, in order for you to own that next you, and not only just own it, but hold on to her forever and ever, and continue helping her evolve. Because it's not just you in there. There's two of you. You will start to notice that when you look into that mirror, that there's not one of you. There might actually not even be two. There might be more. And that is all the parts that of you that are the brokenness. That's the best way how I can describe of when you start to look into that mirror at yourself, that you see that is not just yourself, that there are others there with you. And it's almost like a party. And some of these people, you got to get them out because they're no longer serving you. And that's just parts of you, not necessarily the people, but parts of you that continue to come back and shitting all over everything that you're doing. The shoulds, the coulds, it's shitting, literally. That's what you describe as like shitting all over you. Okay. And so stay a while there, a place for you to rest and allow yourself to say goodbye to what no longer serves. What I just finished saying. And there are parts of you, there's parts of your life that are no longer serving you. And the challenge that we started in the group this week with, the challenge is very simple. Here's the challenge. Those of you, I'll do a separate video as well, but I want to take a moment to start talking about it just in case you don't see that video, and that's here as well. And repeating things more than once is actually very beneficial. This is how we create a habit and understand more and more and more of what is being said. So if you watch this video, for example, from the beginning to the end, more like the more you watch it, the more you learn from it. The more you hear from it, and different things, not the same things. So the challenge is this. Every morning, you're done brushing your teeth, or if you forgot of doing this after you brush your teeth, do it throughout the morning, throughout the day, or whenever you do remember. But I do recommend to start in the morning, you brush your teeth, you're getting yourself ready, that you're going to literally high five yourself in the mirror. You're going to look yourself in the eyes. You're going to high five yourself in the mirror. And then for each day, I have a little thing that you will be prompted to do and helping you doing what I help people do. Get your shit together. Because what's going to happen is things are going to be brought up for you. You're going to be triggered. You're going to be facing your dark self. Some of you, yes, you might be facing your lighter self. You might be feeling great. But you know what? Throughout the day, things will be coming up for you. It's natural. They do anyways. Whether you're giving yourself a high five or not, things are coming up for you. But I want you to sit with it, especially now with this tree coming up and telling you to sit with it, to understand it and you. By understanding it, what you're going through is the it. It is not you, it's what you're going through. And it does not define you. But it could if you let it. It could change you in ways that you might not like, or might change you in the ways that you do like. This is where taking responsibility of your consciousness is important. And what I mean by that is You go through your day 95% unconsciously. When you become conscious, when you become aware what you're going through, you become aware of the moment. When you're aware, when you're there, you know when you are. Or initially you might not, but you start to recognize when you are conscious and when you are unconscious, when it is the default program that is coming through and you're going your day to day based on the program, or when you're coming through the conscious. And the more you become conscious of who you are being in any given moment in time, the closer you will get to who you actually are and who you want to be, and stay there and give less fucks about everyone else. Okay, next. You may have been overdoing things. I know I have. I've been going into the dark, deep rabbit hole, and the things that I'm telling you guys to do, to sit with yourself, all these uncomfortable things, bring it out, heal it, work through it, cry through it, talk through it with whoever is on the other end, who's attached to what you're going through. So healing, so important for both people. If there is a relationship, right? A relationship is not just limited to marriage. The relationship is, you and I have a relationship. You watching these videos, we have a relationship, right? So if you want to nurture a relationship, you can. And if you don't, you can just end it. It is really simple, but simple does not mean easy. Simple can mean actually really hard emotionally, right? And that's the thing that is hard for a lot of people to do, for everyone to do, for everyone. It becomes easier with practice, but it's hard for everyone to express themselves and be who they truly are. It was easy when we were little because we were just oblivious. We weren't conscious, right? There's different brain wavelengths that we go through from when we're in utero to the last minute of our breath. So up until 7 years old, the child is in a dreamlike state. So everything is, you know what dreams are like, right? They're really great. They're really powerful. They could also be really, really traumatizing, that you carry those dreams for the rest of your life. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, where those dreams where there's such, when you wake up and that dream has left a hole in you, has left some kind of a trauma in you, and then you might not remember the dream, but there's certain experience that you go through that trigger that, and you get into the fight or flight. So I'll give you an example. So on Thursday, when I was talking about painting the mug, I went to paint that mug, and I didn't know how long it was going to take. I've never done that, and the first time in the design I came up with was pretty busy, and it's a lot of really tiny little detailed brush work for the majority of it. So long story short, I was there with my friend for 6 hours. She finished quicker than me, but I wasn't done because I'm not in a rush. Neither she wasn't in the rush. She was in the rush for a moment because she saw how much detail she had, but thinking that I was going to be done before her. Anyways, long story short, without going all into the story is not necessarily what matters here. What matters here is the power that dreams have on us, and the fact when I was talking about you becoming conscious, and this helps you to really, when you sit down and you pause, it helps you to become more conscious of the present moment and understand what you're going through, and not just you, but others in your life. So this is one of the practices that I have in my life, where understanding and connecting the dots to what the person is going through right now and where is it coming from for them. And what I'm going to share with you is, while I got home at 12:12, actually, we parked in her driveway. She lives across the street from me. We parked in her driveway at 12:12 and got home, and this is where I got to have a conversation with my husband to understand what he was going through. But what happened was, when I was painting, he sent me a message asking where I was and if everything was okay and when I was going to be home, and just checking in. And when we got home and I was having a conversation with him to understand, why was he worried? I did say that I was going to be home late, that you guys are all going to be sleeping, but from his end, and this is where I'm talking about also dreams. So I will tell you the dream first, and then we'll continue with the conversation to help you understand. And this is where you might put the dots together for yourself as well. So his dream was, he dreamt that we as a family, the four of us, the two kids and James and I, my husband and I, that we got in a car accident. And now when we recovered and got out of the hospital, we went on vacations, we went to enjoy our life. And then he went to his parents' house, and he was talking to his dad and telling him that we went on vacations and had so much fun and we did this and this and that. And his dad's response was, James, Yana died in a car accident. So even for me, it's triggering for many, many different reasons, which we won't go into. This is just human existence. That's where my trigger comes from. Just the understanding on the depth of this experience. Okay. So then, of course, he was distraught when he woke up. And 2 weeks later, now I'm painting a mug. He's sleeping in the bed. Our son is sleeping there. I'm not in the bed because he goes to reach for me and I'm not in the bed. And then he looks at the time and it's already 11 o'clock and he doesn't remember his dream, but he gets up, runs to the window to go see if my friend's car is parked there, to see if we're home, and panics, thinking that something has happened. We got in a car accident. Now my wife is gone. She's not here. She's not responding right away because I don't respond to messages right away. You guys all know this. My husband is no different. He doesn't receive a message from me right away either. So as you can see, it's not personal to anyone. It's me. This is how I do things, how I choose to live my life and not be responding or reacting to a device that is not going to be dictating my life, even though I'm building a business through this device. Okay. Still, I choose to live my life the way that feels right for me. And this feels right for me. So this is just one example of how powerful dreams are and the hold they have on us and the triggers and the trauma they create in our bodies, where he was not able to go to sleep and fall asleep until 2 a.m. and he had to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to go to work. Of course he was tired and exhausted. And this is where I came in the following day and we had a conversation and helping him feel okay and normal, understanding, and myself as well. It's like, hey, I see you, I hear you, I understand you. And if you have someone like that in your corner, it's so powerful. It really makes you feel loved, seen, and heard. Highly recommend having that in your relationship, from you and from your partner. And that's something that they gotta figure out how they can give you that from them. Something I had to figure out how to give. And that's something that he's going to remember for a long time, because those dreams, they might consciously not be in our memory, but they are in our body. And that is why we might not have a memory of an experience, but our body remembers. Our body responds in the ways that it responds. Sometimes our body might respond in the way that it recoils and we just hide. And sometimes we open up and feel open, right? So it depends. Let's keep going with this wailing tree, because it clearly is wailing at us today. You may, this one I already said, you may have been overdoing things, working too hard, or putting too much effort into life with little reward. the phrase that comes to mind is check yourself. Check yourself, check what you're doing, check where your leakage is. Where you leakage is the drain, where you're feeling the drain. So check where that is, and you gotta plug that drain. You gotta clog that leakage. For me, a long time ago, I recognized that when my phone is on ring, that's where my drain was coming from. So my phone is always on silent, sometimes on vibrate, very rarely on ring. My family knows this, and I want that for them as well, because that means that they are putting themselves first and not some device and not somebody else who is not as important as themselves, because none of us are living for others. We're living for ourselves. But we have somehow twisted our existence in a way that we are living for others and not for ourselves. And no wonder we're feeling lost and confused. No wonder we feel lonely and sad and depressed and overwhelmed and unheard and unloved and unvalidated and like no one gets us. Because we're just giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. And it comes time to receive. And no one is there to give because they're so used to receiving themselves. Find the drain, plug it. If you've been considering making a change, now is the time to do so. One important thing to consider before you make any changes is that you need to allow yourself to feel your disappointment, your loss, and mourn what was and what could not be. You gotta also mourn yourself. That's one of the things that I've been doing in the past couple of weeks, mourning my old self. It is so important to grieve the death of your old self and welcome the rebirth of your new self. And you know these things are happening because you feel sad. You feel like you are losing a part of yourself. And that is usually a great indicator that you are losing a part of yourself, especially if you're doing the work on yourself. And as important it is to grieve, it is also important to celebrate. Those two come hand in hand. So, and also mourning what could not be. Mourning that, let's say you wanted something and you know you just simply, it can't be. Or maybe it is not yet the time for it. So mourning the fact that you don't have what you want yet, or it could never be that way. It's important to grieve. It's important because if you don't, it's going to turn to anxiety. Anxiety is unhealed grief. And anxiety is about the future, right? So grief is in the past, and when it's unhealed, it becomes anxiety, right? And it becomes anxiety because we're looking into the future, trying to create some kind of a past in our trying to create some kind of a future in our mind based on our past, the future that we want, but we struggle to create and really see that future because it is based on the past, and the past usually that we base it on is the realities, the things that we went through that are, like I was talking earlier about memory, how our memory, we can't even rely on that very much so, how we are trying to create a future in our minds based on our past that we have not healed, which is rooted in grief, and feeling extremely anxious about our future because it is rooted in the past that we have not healed. Here we are in the present struggling. So no wonder you're finding yourself stuck. Maybe not every single day, but often enough that you find yourself almost like drained and everything that I was saying before, like unloved, unheard, unsupported, unvalidated, literally lonely and alone, and that no one gets me. There's like, it's just me against this massive world, me as one tiny little ant versus all, right? And it's just infinite, infinite. And this is where the reason why I have been going through this death and rebirth is expanding my mind beyond where it has been expanded, which is, guys are all doing this, personal development, personal growth, and taking action on all the things that we learn. In learning new information from the sources that might not necessarily be the very thing that I'm learning about. So right now, not right now, here's how I'll put it. I had been listening to some, I don't know how to, like watching documentaries on Amazon Prime, on Netflix, listening to some experts on YouTube as well about the universe itself, about planets. We watched about the Venus, and there were some other planets that we listened to in some other shows, but just mastermind comes to mind, that my mind is limited to the certain things that I have exposed it to. And when I expose it to other things, what's going to happen is that everything that my mind has been exposed to and everything that I have been through, even though I'm watching something about Venus and I have never watched anything about planets and I'm watching something about a Venus planet, it is connecting to so many different things that I have learned that help me understand human existence and myself. And it's just, this is the time that I'm going through, sitting with what I've been going through and learning, and allowing the connections to naturally take place little by little. Every day there's something new, something new, something new. Sometimes it's more than one, sometimes it's just one thing, but it feels huge some days. Like, feels like I died and then I was reborn the next day, and I look back at yesterday and I don't recognize myself. This is how quickly it feels like it's been happening. And that can be you as well. But if you don't have the right support systems when you are growing so quickly and rapidly, it can be unsafe. I feel like this is more than enough for you guys to understand what I mean, that if we are growing so quickly and rapidly, because what happens is there's a lot of things that you have hid and put away within you that start to swirl around, and it literally is like, best way to describe it, it's like a panic attack. You're living through a panic attack, you know. And if you don't have the right systems in place, the right people in place, you can imagine where the unsafety comes from. Okay, and that's why we're talking about changes. I want to make sure that I say it out loud, as I always do. The right support systems are important for you and for everyone when they're growing, when they're implementing changes in their life, to help you through it easier and less painful, so you don't have to walk away with more anxiety. And Debbie said, "Hi, Debbie. How are you, beautiful?" I have never heard it explained like that. And she was talking about anxiety and grief, and then looking into the future and the past. And then what I'll also add on top of the simplicity, what I said, is it's not just grief that we're basing our future on. It is also our assumptions, how we view and perceive the world, and how we interpret it, and so far, up until now, it might not have been serving you so much. So changing the way that we perceive the world is something that you need from outside source. You can get it many different ways. This video, many other videos, you can read books, blogs, so many different ways of how you can help to change your perception. The best way is to have conversations with human beings, of course. And then reading is really another way. There's many other ways, like I said. So limiting beliefs is another one, right? Assumptions, limiting beliefs. Then you have a shit ton of stories that you carry that create your mindset. And that is not just limited to limiting beliefs and assumptions, that it's also the gremlin, the voice that you hear that keeps you playing small. The imposter is another way of looking at it. Gremlin's voice is the imposter's voice. It's the voice that tells you that you should not do this, you're gonna get hurt, we tried this before, let's not do this again. But just because it happened in the past this way, who is to say it's going to happen that same way now or in the future? I like to believe that it's always going to be better, and so far it has not proven me wrong. So even when it was really hard, I always knew that it's going to get better, and it always did, and it always does, and it always does for you as well. So that's just to name a few of the things that you are going through. Okay, so let's keep going. Let me see, my phone doesn't show the time. So we were talking about, I'll just read. One important thing to consider before you make any changes is that you need to allow yourself to feel your disappointment, your loss, and mourn what was and what could not be. This is a way to honor your experience, to give yourself time to consider all the gifts in it, in the experience and in your time and in your life, to put proper closure on it, to really know what you've learned as you walk away from it and into something new. That's why reflecting and learning from our lessons, from our experiences, in a way of what can I do with this in the future, in the next thing that I'm doing. Even in the perception of failure, there is much good to be discovered. However, skipping the stages of loss doesn't get you to reconciliation any faster. Don't skip the stages of grieving the loss. That is the most important. Like I said, then it's anxiety that you're bringing into the future, and you can't see the future very clearly. So a little bit of work is always necessary. In fact, you'll discover that you will have to come back at some point. You do. Once in a while, you do have to come back. We cannot heal grief in one sitting. We cannot heal anxiety in one sitting. We cannot heal depression in one sitting. We can't heal anything in one sitting. You might be able to eat your dinner in one sitting, but if you go to a buffet and you're refilling that plate, you can't eat all of it in one sitting. You got to keep going back to refill your plate, sit down and eat more. Go refill the plate, come back, sit down and eat more. The same concept goes towards you, for your self-healing, for your sitting with the wailing tree, for you to get your shit together. You gotta keep coming back to the same thing, to the same problem, to the same block, to the same struggle, until it is replaced with a new one. And then you'll be going to that new one over and over and over again until it is replaced with another new one, and another new one, and another new one. So those of you who are here hoping that you can have one coaching conversation with someone and all of your problems will be solved and resolved and your life is going to be perfect, you know it's not going to happen. That is never the reality. Nobody gets to fix or solve anything in one sitting when it comes to the internal turmoil with what we're all going through. So just remind yourself that when you catch yourself, when you become conscious of catching yourself with this expectation that I need this done and healed quick and fast, that, or why does this keep coming back? I thought I already dealt with this. I thought I already fixed this. You didn't. And that's why it keeps coming back. That means it is time to do the work now. And then when you're done doing the work this time, it's going to go, it's going to leave, you will forget and forgive, and then it comes back until it's time to do the work on it again. You didn't get to learn math the first time you did math. Every grade you went to school, you learned one level up, right? You learn more and more and more. You got to evolve with math, with history, with geography, with science, with all the classes, everything you took through school. No different within you. When you are the school yourself, and your emotions and feelings are your teachers. They're the subject of grief, subject of anxiety, subject of depression, subject of happiness and joy. All of these are subjects. Now, my question is, how diverse are you in these subjects? How comfortable are you with these subjects? How open are you to learning more on these subjects? And how dedicated are you to mastering these subjects? Because these subjects are you. They're your life. They're your past, your present, and your future. And last week I was doing a video about you don't need your past where you're going. You don't. But your past is what created you. Your past is you, and it will always be a part of you. Yes, you can heal it. You can fix it. You can change it. And like I said, memory is such a beautiful thing that even you can go back and you can change your memories. That's the work I've done with quite a few of my clients, actually, where they would take the time to go and rewrite their past. And in rewriting so, they were able to really uncover what that past was, where that trigger was for them. So it's incredibly, incredibly powerful work to do as well, by the way. I'm sure you've tried it one way or another, where we do this even through conversation, when we're practicing having conversation with someone, and in that way we are rewriting our past. We were writing the experience we had. And that's why your truth is your truth. My truth is my truth. Even if we went through the same experience, I will walk away with something different than you will. Everybody walks away with something different. We don't all walk away with the same thing. How many of you are watching this video? And that's why I love to ask, what was your biggest takeaway? And you can share that with me now if you feel like there's a takeaway for you now, and there's going to be a takeaway later, and everyone has a different takeaway. Why? The same video, the same words, the same person that is presenting, that is saying, but what's different is each and every one of you has entirely different existence. Some things we can relate and we can understand, and they're similar, but how you experienced the experience is different from everyone. And that's not something that we can fully share. And that's one of the things that I continue to go back to healing and grieving the loss of, like, the fact that nobody will ever know who I truly am. It's just, nobody will. I can explain who I am in all the different ways, but nobody will, because they have not lived my life, and they can only understand me based on who they are and interpret me based on who they are. Just like me. I can never understand any one of, like, you can explain to me who you are and how, what you lived through, how your life was, but I can only understand it through my lens, through who I am. And that's a concept that some of you might get, some of you might not get. It's one of, I'm not a philosopher when it comes to those types of explanations yet, because I'm still in the stages of the knowing. I just know it and I sense it, but I still have not learned the language and the science behind it to be able to explain it to everyone in the way that I just know it in my soul and in my being, where there's something about anxiety I didn't know, I learned, and I am able to explain it in a way that others, like Debbie said, has not heard of it being explained in that way. And that's something that I will be able to do with what I just said, with, you know, understanding that how we are just, we're here alone. And this is where the beautiful part is, this challenge that we have in the group with having more self-love for yourself and high-fiving yourself in the mirror. This is where that is the person, the one and only person in that mirror that gets you, that knows you, that knows your heart and soul. And you can never, ever lie to her, because she'll call you out on it. And she sees the truth when you look in the eyes. That is who you are here for. That is who you're living for. And everybody else gets to reap the rewards and the fruits of your labor, of you working on yourself and becoming the best version of yourself for you. And that's your best friend. And you know this. And that was your best friend from day one. It's just the circumstances of your life have taught you not to trust her, not to be friends with her. They have taught you that she will keep you down. She'll make you feel bad, because her voice is a voice of everyone else around you that you might not want to hear, because they did not know who you were and they tried to tell you who you were. And I feel good. Okay, so let's keep going. However, skipping the stages of loss does not get you to reconciliation any faster. In fact, you will discover that you will have come back at some point. We all come back to our previous self so we can heal her. So do it all now. Look at it all squarely and honestly, and stay with your feelings. Life is not either or. It's both and. This and that. It is not, life is not about you limiting yourself. It is not. It is about you breaking through all those limits that others have set for you. You limiting yourself, it is not the limits that you have put there. It is the limits that others have set for you, and you allow those limits to stay there. Now it is up to you to remove those limitations and keep going, and have it all. You can have it all. You just need to figure out how you can get your shit together to have it all. So as you dive in and process this, allow it to become a temporary travel companion on your journey. Temporary travel companion. Temporary. The feelings that this will bring to the surface will be challenging. for sure. Yet, like all things, they will pass soon enough, and you will be enriched by the experience. And you will feel closer to being, you will feel closer to feeling who you are, who you're meant to be, and what you want from yourself and from this life. So, that is all I have for you guys for today. Long enough. I hope this was great. Looking forward to hearing what your biggest takeaway was if you haven't done so already. And so for tomorrow, we have our Sacred Circle, 10 a.m. I will be hosting the meditation. I might do the one I haven't done in a while, and that is healing your inner child. And that's a really, really great meditation. So I might do that one. I might come up with a different one. Who knows? So that's 10 a.m. Eastern time. Those of you who are interested. And then next week, I'll see you guys all on Monday again at 11:30ish a.m. with yet another card reading. Maybe from the same deck. Who knows? I might just keep it here. So if you like this deck, let me know. I'll pull something out of here next week. Or Witch's Wisdom. These two so far. Actually, all the decks that I have, each one is my favorite. But the Witch's Wisdom is definitely one of my favorites. That one I've used so many times. Anyways, thank you very much for listening, for contributing to this conversation, and most importantly, for taking the action on whatever it is that you feel called taking the action for yourself today. Truly hope it is the challenge. And if not, maybe the next time around when we will have this challenge, it will be the time that you'll have to take the action. Other than that, until next time, bye everybody.